What's a new crew? If you're new, my name is Cassandra. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am basically compiling about a week's worth of Christmas cookie footage for you guys, sharing with you guys some of our family favorite recipes when it comes to cookies. This is not all of our cookies I will be making for the holidays, not even close. In fact, most of the cookies that you're gonna watch me make in this video are gone. The only thing we have left are some cutout cookies here that the kids are like periodically decorating and whatnot. But everything else has already been eaten through and is gone, minus what we put in the freezers. Those are all still there. But we are making a handful of different Christmas cookies, sharing with you guys a couple recipes. Some of them we're making fresh, so you'll see them come out of the oven. But you're also gonna see me doing a little bit of prep for like Christmas Eve. We don't have to make cookies from scratch the night before for Santa because we do host, so trying to minimize the mess. Being able to just pull things out of the freezer and put them on a cookie sheet is really, really nice. And also prepping for our holiday cookie plate that we put out on the tables come Christmas Day for Christmas lunch and whatnot. So let's go ahead and hop into some of our favorite cookie recipes, and I hope you guys enjoy.
We are starting with these peanut butter drop cookies, which are some of our favorites. Here is the recipe or the ingredients here. Basically, you're throwing all this stuff into a pot on the stove, melting it down and dropping it onto some parchment paper, letting it kind of cool. It stiffens a little bit as it cools and you can pick them up, and they are really, really good. I think they're an underrated cookie personally. We've also added nuts to these in the past and also some shredded coconut in the past. They are absolutely delicious, but today we kept them just as the recipe calls. If you want them to be a little bit more stiff, I would either suggest cooking them down a little bit longer, making sure that your oats have a couple minutes to actually kind of like cook in the peanut butter and the butter and all of that. Or you can shave paraffin wax into it, which is something my mother-in-law does. But personally, for me, I don't want to like willingly put wax into my food, but that is also an option for you if that's something you wanted. But I think that just letting them cook down a little bit longer, they stiffen up well enough, and I don't feel the need to add the wax to my cookies. And if you wanted to see what real life looks like, this is it sometimes cooking in my kitchen. I'm sure you guys can say your kitchen has also looked like this from time to time. We're going to head into our second cookie, which are these non-sugar cookies. The recipe does call for buttermilk. If you're like me and you don't have buttermilk, this is the easiest way to make it. Put your milk into a glass measuring cup, add something acidic. I'm adding lemon juice here, but it can also be vinegar, whatever you happen to have on hand. Let that sit for a little bit and you will create buttermilk, and then that way you can have just a little bit for the recipe that you need, and you don't have to worry about buying like a big thing of buttermilk and then having it go to waste because you don't have enough recipes to use it in. This is the texture of which you want your cookie dough to look like. It should feel like Play-Doh, and once you get it to this stage, it is the most forgiving sugar cookie cutouts cookie dough I have ever used. It is very nice for the kids. And of course, you have a couple helpers here. And just a pro tip, if you don't have cookie cutouts, you can always just use the rings from your canning jars. They work just as well. My kids have used just those plain circles to decorate them as Christmas ornaments, as snowmans, as like Santa's face, and they love them, just those plain little circles. So don't feel like you need to have super fancy cookie cutters. The cookie cutters we're using are literally from the dollar store. I got them for $1, and we've used these cookie cutters for years and years. So once we got all of our cutout cookies in the oven, it was time to make our frosting. I do not use my mother-in-law's frosting recipe, even though this is her cookie recipe, because I like my frosting better. We're going to do a block of cream cheese, 1 stick of butter, splash of vanilla. You're going to whip it together till it looks like this. Then you're going to add a little bit of powdered sugar. I'm sorry, I don't have exact measurements here. And then you're going to whip it. And then you taste it. And you know you've added enough powdered sugar when you taste it and you want to eat it again because it tastes good. That's when you know you're ready. Of course, you can add in your food colorings here. We kept ours just plain white this day. And there you go. Frost your cookies. Put a little whatchamacallit, sprinkles on top, maybe some M&Ms. And this is our go-to frosting. We will use this all Christmas long for not just Christmas cookies, but also cakes or brownies. It's really good on brownies as well. Or what am I looking for here? Cinnamon rolls specifically, delicious. So a couple of days later, I made 2 more batches of cookies. I decided to make my oatmeal raisin first because me and my father-in-law are pretty much the only one that like a good oatmeal raisin cookie. So I don't usually make them a ton. So I decided this year I really wanted to make sure I had them. So I made them first. And we are just going to be prepping these. I do bake a couple of them just to have, but the rest of them we are just making into cookie dough balls and putting them in the freezer so that way the day before Christmas or on Christmas Eve we're making cookies for Santa, but we're also going to be making cookies to put as like little appetizers on each of the tables for family Christmas. So once I rolled all those out, I put them on a baking sheet and put them outside to par freeze because it was really cold. Then I moved on to these peanut butter blossoms. Here is the recipe. As our dough was whipping up, I went ahead and put some sugar into a little container to roll our dough in. You can see it was really soft. It was really warm in my kitchen this day, so I took that dough and put it outside with our cookie dough balls for probably like 20 minutes. So just so that it could stiffen up a little bit and was easier to roll. This peanut butter recipe in particular, if it warms up in your hands as you're rolling it, it just makes a really big mess because it's very just gooey. And that's the way the recipe needs to be, but it can make a mess. So I tend to try to work quickly, try to keep it out of my hands, and that's why I'm using my cookie scoop for this, just to try to keep it out of the heat of my hand as much as possible and just trying to like work quickly with this so that my dough didn't thaw out on me too quickly. The key for these when you're baking them in the oven is as soon as they start to kind of crackle and break apart and kind of pull apart, they get little cracks in them. That's when you pull them out of the oven. That's when they are absolutely perfect. Here are just those couple of oatmeal raisin cookies I made for myself to enjoy. Once our peanut butter blossom base for the cookie was in the oven, I went ahead and unwrapped all of the Hershey Kisses to put on top. Sometimes we do peanut butter cups, we've done Rolos, we've done a mix of different toppers, so it's really up to you. I had a handful of cookie dough balls that didn't fit on my cookie sheet, so I decided to still roll them in sugar and put them in a Ziploc bag. I've never froze these cookie doughs before, or this particular recipe, so I decided I had 6 of them. It was a perfect way to kind of do a little bit of a test, see if they froze well and rebaked well. So that's what I did this day, and that'd be really nice to know because I would love to have some of these on my cookie platters for Christmas. And I don't want to make them fresh. So it would be really nice to have the dough in the freezer and then all I have to do is bake them and put the kisses on top and add them to the platter. So that's what that is. And just like that, we have a handful of cookies made for Christmas.
I hope that you guys are having a fantastic holiday season as Christmas is readily approaching here. I hope that you guys have time to make some really awesome cookies for you and your family. And of course, I will catch you guys in another video.